so I asked for the the condensed version, and it said, FAA DEI programs do not lower standards for pilots or air traffic controllers. Everyone must still pass the same tests, medical exams, and certifications. DEI efforts only broaden the applicant pool, not weaken requirements. Safety data shows no decline linked to DEI hires. Some lawsuits claim hiring process changes hurt staffing, but none prove that safety or certification standards are reduced.
I recall a lawsuit of maybe 2,000 white pilots that were suing the FAA because they got rejected due to them being white and qualified. I could be mistaken, but if you want to Google that to see if that was there, because that would prove that statement was incorrect in terms of widening the pool of, and you just cut out 2,000 of them. How's that widening?
I mean, we can pull up the FFA guy.
I'm assuming when they say widening the pool, I'm assuming. Well, I mean, I could be assuming wrong, but what I took from that was the people that get hired, instead of it being 90% white male, now it's 40% white male, 40% X, and 20% Y or whatever. But as far as, I guess, what the main issue was, that DEI programs do not lower standards for pilots or air traffic controllers, and that they must still pass the same exams. I
mean, again, it's Chat GPT. I can only go off of what that FSA person said, where he said we relax the standards and to meet the DEI. Yeah, that's what. But that was the whole thing where everybody was talking about, where they were saying rhetoric stuff and all that other stuff. But then when you actually pulled up the video of the guy saying that, then you have to go off of like that's what he said. But then again, it's like you got to cherry pick and choose whichever one. So I
think that's just one of those things that we as the regular people out here will never really know the answer to, unless somehow we get a hold of some certified classified documents or something somewhere. Which
they'll never let that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we can pretty much. We still can't even get Epstein to come out, but that's a different story.
By Megan, it's by Megan Kelly. I don't know if you can, but it might be quite of a wild video. But it just like how certain things are, and when you see certain things on the internet, but then we're trying to see if we can pull up the video. But
while he's looking that up, what do you think about DEI in general? Just the concept or the idea of DEI?
I mean, I do believe it benefits black people the least. So,
well, not necessarily
diversity, equity.
No, not necessarily how it affects black people. Just what do you think about the concept of DEI, just in general, like the fact that it exists? And
I believe when it first came out, it made a sense. And I know a lot of people like
it was called affirmative action.
Affirmative action. I believe when it first came out, it makes sense because of the time we were then in those times. We are not in those times now. We are in a completely different area of how we employ and unemploy people. Some people do use it and abuse it to their advantage, whether if you got a black person that's hiring all his friends, and whether if they're qualified or not for their job. But hey, my buddy got me employed down here, but
they file it under the DEI.
Yeah, then half the time you find out, man, what's up with your boy, man? He didn't got us in an emergency situation, and now we people in trouble. But you hired him. It happens all the time, not just for black people.
I think that still goes. I think that stuff like that still boils down to the fact that we don't know whether or not people are. Well, it depends on whether or not people and hiring managers are actually lowering the standards when they
No,
are doing
I don't
DEI
think so.
program.
I think, sometimes people get caught up in the trending topic that's going on and they like to focus on that. But I do think it does play its role. Of course, you cannot have some companies, or people will look at certain companies where you only have, white people. You only have Hispanics, or, but you only hire Indians. Like, it just, like, me, do I care about that? No, I just want my job so I can get paid.
Yeah.
Like, it just, like, certain things that I don't, like, worried about, or I can't even do anything. Like, that's the employment world. But we do have those policies in place to where you not just only, hey, this company don't hire any black person. Is that discriminatory? Like, yes, in some cases it can be, because you don't hire any black people because of your views, and you using those views to imply or implement certain ideologies or ideas at your job, to where you don't want a black person working at your job, or you don't want an Asian person working at your job. Like, those are, or can be, like, cause you to have a lawsuit.
Yeah.
But then it's just like, it's
So with me, I think my take on just DEI and as a whole, I think it could be beneficial in some ways, but as a whole, I don't like the idea that it comes off to me as like we set up this system so far back in time where we intentionally kept you guys from being educated, and we're speaking of people of color and women, because there was a time where like women didn't even have the right to vote, so they obviously weren't going to be as educated as the white men were. But if we're going to speak from, just because we're three black men sitting at the table, if we're speaking only on black people, there was a time where we were intentionally being kept from getting educated. Yeah. And unfortunately, that has led to this generational just downtick and just generational curse of undereducation and just the state that we see, like the ghettos and the hoods and stuff in. So we have been subjugated to this predicament. We have been put in this predicament for so long, and instead of the people who came up with this DEI, this affirmative action idea, instead of them saying, hey, we are going to correct the wrongs that we did by ensuring that all of your children are properly educated to the same level that our children are, and making sure that you guys get the proper qualifications and like I said, proper education. Instead of that, because that's going to cost too much money, we're just going to skip all of that and just say we're going to make sure that you guys have equity of outcome instead of an equity of opportunity. And that's not where I don't think that's the best way to deal with it. I feel like if you pour the same money in our schools that you do into your schools, then you wouldn't have to have a DEI program, because we would be pumping out
now
a higher proportion than we are now. We would be pumping out a higher percentage of qualified individuals and overqualified individuals.
All right. So let me pause it right there, because from what you're talking about now in terms of DEI, sounds more as it's based on a pure race thing. So
that's not. I was saying that's not what my point was. I was just saying that because we're black people.
Right. I get that. But real quick, I just want to read off what the terms mean for DEI. So this is the DEI for the website. It's starting with diversity. So it says the presence and representation of individuals with varying backgrounds, perspectives, and identities. This includes different races, ethnicities, genders, sexual orientation, age, religion, physical disability, and other life experiences. So just based off of that one diversity, the first thing that sticks out is like, okay, I'm very familiar with affirmative action. That was something coming from my generation. I'm that old. But what is added is this gender and sexual orientation, which if I was anybody, I would have a huge problem with. And here's the reason why. If I'm a business and I'm going to hire you to do a job, the last thing I'm going to care about is what you do in the bedroom. Number one, it's none of my business. Number two, I don't want to hear you talk about it because it's none of my business. But for that to be added in and say sexual orientation, just go ahead and confirms that all the people that were getting jobs because they were looked at as being whatever they were being looked at, or they felt some kind of way of being looked at a certain kind of way, said, hey, we want a right to go into this person's business and flaunt our sexual orientation. And that business has to respect it. Much like that Dylan Mulvaney thing with Bud Light, is that you have to respect that I'm different, therefore I need this job. Not because I'm qualified or anything else. Equality, I'm sorry.